Question one. So we are in May, June 2020. Question one. So which one of the following is the role of the government in a mixed economy? When we talk about a mixed economy, in a mixed economy we have the provision of both public goods and private goods, which means they combine private sector and the public sector. So the private sector is the free market and the public sector is a planned economy. So the combination of both makes a mixed economy. But it doesn't mean that they separate their roles. Their roles are different. So in the mixed economy, the public sector provides public goods, while the private sector provides goods that are rivals and that's excludable. Do you get it? So here they say, which one of the following is the role of the government in a mixed economy? So the role of government alone, that means they want us to specify the role of government. And the role of government is to provide public goods, which street lighting is part of it, and flood defense. These goods, the private sector will never provide them. So the answer is A. But let's look at B. To subsidize goods that cause external cost. Government will only subsidize goods that brings about positive externality, which is social benefit. Yeah. Do you understand? So that's why it's not B. See, they said to tax goods that cause external benefits. No, government always wants to encourage the production or the provision of goods that will bring positive externalities. So government would rather subsidize for that instead of taxing goods that bring externalities. I think it's clear, so it's not C. Then they said to introduce regulation that cause excessive administrative costs. Excessive administrative costs is a government failure, it's not part of it. It's a government failure. Okay. One of the reasons for government failure is excessive administrative costs. So the answer is A. Clear? Yes. We go to question 2. Which of the following is an example of a market failure?
Allocation features are not efficient.
Inefficiency, right? Inefficient allocation of resources. Okay, so what's the answer, please?
B.
What did you choose?
Rounded.
It's wrong. So let's check each one. Which one is following? One, excessive administrative costs associated with government regulation. That is government failure. It is not A. Are you with me, please?
Yes.
B, diminishing marginal utility occurring as consumption increases. That is marginal benefit. It doesn't have anything to do with this. It's not B. C, rising stock. Rising stock market pricing causing a market bubbles. Market bubbles. It's market bubbles.
Why?
Rising cost, which increases demand. The market will bubble. That's the speculative bubbles. So as soon as the bubble bursts, then the market failure causes. It comes about market failure. So the answer is C. Is it clear now? So let's check D. Unintended consequence. Unintended consequence is also what? Government failure. So you have government failure as A, government failure as D. So the answer is C. Clear? Okay. Go to question 3. Are you there, guys? They said in April 2015, an earthquake in Nepal killed 8,000 people. Assume the economy was operating efficiently at full employment. Let's say the economy is operating at full employment. It means we are in the boundary of the PPF. In the boundary of the PPF. Okay. Which one of the following diagram best illustrates the impact of the earthquake? Earthquake is a natural disaster, and a natural disaster is expected to cause economic decline. Economic decline. So now, which one of the following diagrams best illustrate the impact of earthquake on Nepal's economy, assuming it continues to operate at full employment? An outward shift? No. It cannot be an outward shift from X to Y. Because an outward shift will be as a result of economic growth. Earthquake will reduce supply. Yeah. So output will fall. So it's not A.
B is...
They said an inward shift. An inward shift from X to Y. And this represents economic decline.
Yes.
Do you get it? So the answer is B.
Really?
Yes, the answer is B. Inward.
You know why I said the D, mister?
Okay.
Because I said not fully utilized in Y.
I will tell you why it's not answer.
I also said D. Why, mister, isn't it?
Okay, so we'll go to C. I'm going to explain. You choose C or D?
D.
Okay, I'm going to explain C, then I'll explain why it is not C, why it is not D. We know why it is not A now, right?
Yeah.
An outward shift will bring about... okay. It is not. It is B because it represents inward, which is economic decline. Now go to C. For C, this is unattainable. outside of it. It is
Yeah.
unattainable.
Very true.
Did you get that? And why it is not D? It is not D because D is about movement. There's nothing like movement. There's nothing like movement in the PPM. It is outward shift or inward shift. And they told you that the economy is still operating at full employment. If look at what they said. They said assuming that the economy is still operating at full employment. So it means there's still employment, but the resources are not available. So at Y, it means the economy is not fully utilized. But the economy is fully utilized based on employment. But the problem is that the output is not increasing based on the output, natural disaster. You see, that's how economics is. You would think it is that option that you choose, but it is not, except if you read it very well and thoroughly. So, but they told you already that the economy is still operating at full employment.
So it's economic.
So if it is operating at full employment, it can never be down.
Okay.
The answer why it is not D now. So the answer is B, question 3. We go to question 4. In the UK, mobile phone service providers have been accused of offering new consumers much cheaper deals than those offered to existing consumers. Despite this difference, many existing consumers do not change their mobile phone service provider. Which one of the following explains why consumers do not change mobile phone service provider? What's your answer, guys?
I said consumer
Said
specific
B.
behavior.
Wrong.
I wrote C.
Habitual.
I think A, Mr.
Yeah,
Consumers are
habitual
good at
behavior.
It's
consumption.
habitual.
Because they're so used to the product.
Now I have to
can't
explain.
change.
What
Because
chapter is
it's-
this? What chapter is this?
You studied it.
It's like, you know, this chapter.
I think.
This is why consumers will always buy things.
Yeah.
Rational,
Rational
rationality.
decision making.
Oh, chapter 6.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
Did you get it now?
Yeah.
So now let me explain why it is not. It is not A. It is not B. Why it is C and why it is not D. Should I explain now, right?
Yeah.
Okay. It said, which one of the following explains why consumers do not change mobile phone service provider? Consumers are good at computation. If they are good at computation, so when they are good at computation, it makes them to behave rationally. And most of the time, listen please, most of the time, firms or businesses do not come up with complex statistics that do not allow us to be able to compute.
They don't have the skills or they have the time to calculate.
Do you understand? So we don't have that time. It is so complex that we don't have time to calculate. So if we are able to computate or calculate, we will behave rationally.
Yes.
We won't behave irrationally, so it is not A.
Yeah.
Do you understand? So good computation makes us to behave rationally.
Good one.
Clear?
Yes.
That's why it's not A. B. Consumer aim to maximize utility. What is utility? Utility is the amount of satisfaction that can be derived from the consumption of any commodity. So if consumers are able to maximize their utility, that means satisfaction. Then as soon as we are able to maximize it, we stop. We wouldn't go further. So it is not B. Do you get that? Question C. Option C. Consumer exhibit habitual behavior. One of the reasons why people behave irrationally is because it is habitual.
Okay.
Do you get it? That's why it is C. Clear?
They behave rationally.
It's
It
also,
behave irrationally.
is it also
Irrationally.
because of inertia, which they're just so used
Inertia,
to?
yeah.
They're so used to the product, they don't want to change.
Yes, inertia, yeah. Then we go to question. That's why it is C. Now let's look at D. Consumers feel valued by alternative providers. If they feel valued by alternative providers, they switch. They will stop buying your product.
Okay.
Do you get that? If they feel valued by alternative
They
providers, they switch. They stop buying from you. So the answer is D. Clear?
See.
Now C, sorry. Thank you. Question 5. Are you there?
Yeah.
In 2019, countries in Africa reduced the quantity of rice they imported. So they reduced the importation of rice. The diagram shows the impact of this on the world market for rice. The price is there and the quantity. Now they said which one of the following can be deduced from the diagram. So based on the diagram, the first thing before we go into it, what's your answer?
C.
No?
I don't know.
Okay. Each one is not C. Now let's check each one.
Yeah, of course not C, because consumers collect from them.
I don't understand.
Well, the answer is D anyway.
Producers collect, yeah.
Surplus. Producer surplus fell. So before we go there, let me just explain each one, okay? Now, they said government spending rises by VUQE to Q1. If government spending rises, that is subsidy. So if government spending is rising, it will not affect import. It would have meant that importation would stop. But here they said which one of the following? Okay, look at what they said. reduce the quantity of rice they imported. So if the government, if they reduce the quantity of what they imported, it should not be a leftward shift from QE to Q1. It should be a rightward shift. Government spending, if government spending increases, it should increase supply curve. It should increase supply, shifting the supply curve rightward from S to S1. But here they are saying reduction, there's importation reduction. So it's affecting the demand curve, not supply. So because it's affecting the demand curve, so we have to find situations about demand, not supply. Do you get what I'm saying here? Government spending will increase supply. We're talking about demand curve here.
So the government spending increase supply.
Yeah, government spending will increase supply, so it's not A. B, total revenue of rice produces fall by QE to Q1. Total revenue, no, it doesn't have anything to do with total revenue here. We're talking about demand alone. And when you look at it, if the total revenue fell from QE to VU, it is from VU, we bring about a leftward shift. But it is demand, not total revenue. Because total revenue, there's total purchases and total revenue. If it was about total purchases, then it affects demand. If it is total revenue, it affects supply. So it is for firms, not for firms here. That's why it's not B. Are you guys getting what I'm saying here?
Yes.
There's total revenue and total consumption. Total consumption affects consumers. Total revenue affects producers. So here, if it fell from D to D1, normally it's going to affect revenue. But here we are talking about demand. So it is not total revenue, it is total consumption.
Okay.
Do you understand why it is?
Total revenue, what was it?
Total revenue is price multiplied by quantity sold.
I know, but what is total revenue? But it affects what?
It's the impact for firms. Total revenue is for firms.
Total revenue for firms.
Total purchases or total consumption is for consumers.
Okay.
So if it was total purchases, it would have been right. Do you understand? So it is not B. C. To consumer surplus rises by PE, UVP1. Consumer surplus. Here, consumer surplus cannot rise. Why? Look at it here. Consumer surplus is, what is consumer surplus itself? The difference between the price consumers are willing to pay and the amount they actually pay. So here, there's demand. The demand has fell. If demand falls, it would have meant that consumer surplus would fall. Consumer surplus only rise when demand increases. We talked about that, right? Okay, so it is not C. Did you get the point here? Now let's look at D. At D is the answer anyway. At D, there's a leftward shift because they said the importation of rice reduced, right? That means the quantity demanded for rice reduced. Yes or no? Yes. So that means there's a leftward shift from D to D1. Do you get the first point there?
Yeah.
So as a result of that, the producer surplus would fall from PE to UV. It fell from U to V. Do you see it there?
Yes.
So that means the price will fall from PE to P1. Do you understand? Reduction in importation will reduce the price of goods because the demand for imported goods reduces. As a result of that, the price of imported goods would fall.
Yes.
So here, the first thing that happens is the demand fell. As a result of that, imported firms have to respond by reducing their price.
Okay.
Do you understand? So the answer is D. Is it clear?
Yeah, also, Mr. Because it says producer surplus is because in the question they said that the countries imported it, so it's the producers, right?
Yeah, but the point is, if importation is reducing,
Yeah.
it's not for the domestic firms. If it's for domestic firms, the supply. If government has reduced importation, it would have meant that government wants to encourage domestic production.
Yeah.
So if government is encouraging domestic production, the graph should give us S to S1.
Yeah.
Then we'll talk about supply. But the graph is giving us D to D1, which means we should focus on quantity demanded.
Yeah.
So the quantity demanded for imported goods, imported rice, has reduced, which means the price of imported rice would fall.
Yeah.
Is it clear? So the answer is D. Question 5. Here they said the diagram shows the market for wheat. The question shows the market for wheat. It also the introduction of a subsidy for the production of wheat by the Indian government. Which one of the following is the producer incidence of the subsidy? So when talking about producer incidence, so we're talking about the amount producers were supposed to pay. That is it. on subsidy. But now there's subsidy, right? Because there's subsidy, yeah, they said the normal price is at 15,500. This is the price.
How much?
15,500. That's the price.
Yeah.
Where the supply? That means producers are willing to supply at this price
Yes.
for 15,500. Now, with subsidy, the supply curve shifted from S to S1 in between 12,005. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. So the which one of the following is the producer incidence of the subsidy? So we say 15,005. So we have 15,500 minus 12,500. What does that give us?
Minus what?
So 12,014, wait, from S to S1. Yeah, the quantity increases from 120 to 145.
Mm-hmm.
But from 120 to 145, the difference is 20. So we have
25.
25. No?
The difference between
Yeah,
25.
25, yeah. Thank you. So we have 15,500, 3,000.
We get 3,000.
So the difference now is from 14,000. So now, based on subsidy, we have 14,000. Now, the price will be set at 14,000, which means 14,000 multiplied by 145. 14,000 multiplied by 145. We have 1812. 14,000.
No, I haven't.
So they're going to pay 15,500, which was consumer surplus. 15,500, 15,500, 15,000.
I studied music tax and
500. Incidence of tax is the burden
Yeah.
on the burden on
No, I'm
producers.
saying like I just studied all this and I don't know how I'm not answering.
So 15,500 multiplied by 145,000, 145. Eight. 145. 2,247,500. Do we get that? So 15, that's
15,500 times 145.
145. So that's 2,247,500. Is it clear?
Yes.
Any question up to now?
No.
So we'll move on to question 6. Question 7, right?
Yes. You let them talk. And
Question 7. Romania plans to impose the maximum price in the market for gas below the current equilibrium price. They already said it for you. A maximum price below the current equilibrium price. Normally, maximum price is always set below the equilibrium price. That's the point. So it's something you should already know. So now as it's been set below the equilibrium price, they said draw a diagram to illustrate the impact of introduction of the maximum price on the market for gas in Romania. So first, what is maximum price? Maximum price is the price that is set below equilibrium price, and it allows consumers to be able to afford certain products, especially goods that can bring positive externality, like gas. So this is the graph. Below the equilibrium price. So we have, to draw the graph, you have your equilibrium price and equilibrium quantity. Demand and supply meets at that point. So as soon as demand and supply meets at that point, the next thing is, below it is the equilibrium, the maximum price being set. Then, where the graph stops here, you have your quantity supplied and quantity demanded, and your equilibrium quantity. That's our maximum price. So what is the impact of setting a price under maximum price? Setting the price under maximum price, under equilibrium price, means that there's going to be excess demand based on the law of demand. The lower the price, the higher the quantity demanded. And as soon as price becomes below the equilibrium price, it brings about excess demand. So that is the point. So maximum price is set below the equilibrium price, as this allows consumers to afford gas. As a result, producers may reduce the quantity supplied, making about excess demand. So there's excess demand because consumers will not want to supply, or producers will not want to supply more. And at the same time, we want more because the price is affordable. So to bring about excess demand. So that is about maximum price. Is it clear now?
Perfect.
Yeah, we'll take it. We go to question. We go to question. We go to question 8. Question 8, please.
Question 8. Yeah, take that.
Yes.
Why there's no excess supply?
Yeah, there's no excess supply here because it's based on price being set below equilibrium price. Any price set below equilibrium price favors consumers. So if it's going to be excess supply if it is minimum price. So that means we cannot sell above this. And not selling above it will bring about excess supply. Do you understand? So for this, it's about consumers. So it's favorable to consumers. Is it clear? So go to question 8 now. Are you there?
Yes.
They said producers of renewable energy received subsidies of $140 billion globally in 2016. Producers of non-renewable energy received subsidies of $260 billion. That is it. Now, statement 2. Subsidies for renewable energy should be increased and subsidies for non-renewable energy should be decreased. With reference to statement 1 and statement 2, explain the difference between positive statements and normative statements. We call it positive statement because it's about objectivity. You can figure it out. It is about facts. There are figures which can be traced. This is positive statement. And for normative statement, it's a statement of value judgment based on your own subjectivity. How you feel. That's why it says should. So in as much as it becomes value judgment, it is normative. So statement 1 is positive statement, and statement 2 is value judgment, which is normative statement. Clear? I need to keep our course of question 9. Okay? Any question about question 8? Done. Go to question 9. The use of the U.S. state of South Carolina has proposed a regulation to stop the sale of energy drinks to children under the age of 18. Explain one likely impact of this proposed regulation to stop the sale of energy drinks to children under the age of 18 in South Carolina. So first, what is regulation? Regulation is a set of law drafted by government to influence certain behavior. That is what regulation is. You have to write that, please. Now, the following are the impact of regulation on regulation. So there's regulation already. So the impact will be on demand, supply, and government. So that means the impact will be on consumers, suppliers, and government. Do you get it? So I use demand instead of consumers. You can use consumers. It's still going to be the same. So let's talk about demand. Since there's regulations, the demand, the quantity consumed of energy drink for the children under 18 would reduce. So that means the demand curve will contract. Yes or no? It will reduce, right? It will shift the demand curve leftward from D to D1. Yes or no? So this will lead to that will lead to contraction anyway. So due to reduction in the consumption of energy drink, fewer children will have health issues. They won't have health issues because that's the reason anyway. So that means fewer children will have health issues.
Okay.
Done. That is for demand. Consumers. So you can put consumers here.
Okay.
Do you get it? Now we go to for producers. Firm's revenue will fall. Why will firm revenue fall? It's going to fall because the quantity demanded for that group, for the quantity demanded of certain age group has reduced. So that means the total revenue would fall. Yes or no? It also have impact, again, a positive impact. So due to the fact that there's regulation, children under the 18 might switch to buying other beverages. Yes or no? So that means the demand for other beverages that can be alternative to that would increase. The firms that sells alternative to energy drinks will witness an increase in the quantity demanded for their goods, which means revenue will increase for them. Producers clear? Now government. Government spending on healthcare might reduce because people won't have issues about health anyway. No. Government spending on subsidy, thank you. Government spending is subsidy anyway. So government spending on health, but it's not we're going to say government spending here because it's not subsidy on health. This is healthcare. So government spending on government expenditure on healthcare. It's the same as spending. Government expenditure on healthcare would reduce because fewer children will have health issues, which can be based on the consumption of energy drinks. Do you get the point here?
Yes.
Also, government might, now the consequence about this, the negative impact on government is that government might need to spend to ensure that there is compliance on this regulation.
Okay.
Do you get it?
That they will follow the rules.
Yes, I didn't write it here, but it's part of it. Now I said, however, there may be government failure, such as unintended consequence. Why do I talk about unintended consequence here? As children may consider buying energy drinks at black market.
Yeah.
Do you understand? Any question about that? Then you get your full mark. I get my full mark though. So go to question 10. The table shows the average annual income for workers in Singapore and the quantity of new cars, that's quantity demanded for new cars in Singapore in 2016 and 2017. Using the data in the table, ceteris paribus, calculate all things being equal. Calculate
What status provision?
all things being equal. I just said that. All things being equal. Is a Latin, ceteris paribus is a Latin word, which means all things being equal. Being equal.
Okay.
Shall we move on?
Yes.
So, show your workings. So we have our YED. YED is, what is income elasticity of demand? Income elasticity of demand is the degree of responsiveness between the quantity demanded of a product as a result of a change in the level of income. So YED is percentage change in quantity demanded over percentage change in income. Are you with me?
Yes.
So our YED here is 112 Q1. We have our Q1 to be 112114, Q2 to be Q1 to be 119091, and Q2 to be 112114. Y1 should be it's $65796, and Y2 is $67032. So Q2 minus Q1 over Q1 divided by Y2 minus Y1 over Y1. So we have 3023 over 109091 divided by 1236 divided by 65796. So at the end of it, we have 198901308 divided by 134836476. So we have 1.48. Clear? Any question about that? So we'll move on to question 11. It said the cost elasticity of demand for Pepsi Cola with respect to Coca-Cola is estimated to be a positive 1.24. Expect the likely impact of a 10% increase in the price of Coca-Cola on the demand for Pepsi Cola. So even without calculation, there's an increase, an increase is positive. So because it is positive, it means Coca-Cola and Pepsi are substitutes.
I cannot say this, Mr.
Percentage change in quantity demanded. Yes, you can. It's not PED, it's XED. XED. So it's cost elasticity of demand, which is percentage change in quantity demanded of product X divided by percentage change in price of product Y. Here we're talking about the percentage change in the quantity demanded of Pepsi over percentage change in the price of Coca-Cola. So it gives us a positive one. So since the increase is positive, then it will be considered as a substitute.
I cannot explain.
Now let me use the graph to explain.
Can we explain the example?
An increase in price, yes.
Okay,
An increase in price.
Increase in price of Coca-Cola, the demand will shift from D to D.
An increase in price of Coca-Cola, which is a substitute. This is how we put it. An increase in the price of Coca-Cola, which is a substitute to Pepsi, will bring about a rightward shift in the demand for Pepsi.
Yes.
Do you get it? So the demand curve for Pepsi will shift rightward from D to D1. And the quantity demanded for Coca-Cola would reduce, will shift leftward. Do you understand? So you can use the same graph, saying that the quantity demanded for, please listen to me. You can use the same graph for demand, saying that the demand curve for Pepsi would shift rightward from D to D1, while the demand curve for Coca-Cola will shift leftward from D to D2. Is it clear? So that's question 11. So go to question 12.